Yo, 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 and welcome again to Across the Hobby. I'm your host, Adam Gray, and you can reach me at the Real 27 Guy on Instagram. Hope everybody had a great Labor Day. Today's Tuesday. It's Tuesday morning that I'm recording this now. And today we're going to look at all the biggest sales from last week and the big sales or the big massive week of auctions that we have ahead of us. I want to say as I start this video, there's always a temptation to talk about the things that people want for you to talk about. And there's so many people right now who are like, Adam, you should talk about how hot the market is and how stuff is, we're having more sales than ever and everything's, the biggest sales ever. And it's tempting to sort of like do something that is not really the purpose of the show. The purpose of the show is to really focus on auctions. I understand that there's more of a thirst right now to just really just be like, the market is amazing and let's talk about it. And there's nothing wrong with that content at all, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on the biggest things that are happening that happened last week and the biggest things that are happening this week, and just sort of give you my own thoughts on those things. And I hope that's interesting to you. And there's a good chance that it won't be, but I hope that it will. And hopefully that the feedback that I've gotten, guys, although there's a small number of people who watch the show, I really appreciate your passion. And so let's dive in right now. Oh, by the way, before I even do that, I will just mention there were definitely mixed reviews on my new style from last week. So we're going to not go that way this week. We're just going to we're going to take 5 minutes and talk about the biggest auctions from last week. And then we have a huge week this week, guys, a huge week with several very large auctions. So let's dive in. One of the biggest stories that I found from last week that I think is so interesting is found on the first row of the Fanatics Collect when sorted by highest first. You can't see because my big head's in the way, but these are sorted by highest first from Sunday. And that is these two duels with LeBron and Jordan. Now, what you're going to notice here is that the one that's numbered to 5 sold for $50,000. And the one that's numbered to 23 sold for $45,000. And that just seems normal, right? But what's interesting to me is on these two cards, one is a trilogy brand, one is an exquisite brand. I think the quality of the autographs here had something to do with how much these two cards sold for. In general, even though the exquisite is a more plentiful card, I would have expected the exquisite to sell for more, all things being equal. But the autographs aren't equal. Let's look at them a little bit closer and have a very quick conversation about light and light's importance. So we're going to highlight both of those and dive in. Notice what the Tom Brady sold for. A BGS 9 on that card is really a pretty big deal. We get a couple more Brady's as we scroll down just a little bit. Brady 1 of 1, just patch, not an autograph, just patch, but from Exquisite 2006. They called this the Spectrum. Exquisite in football had more of these like patch only type cards. Sometimes some of the bigger hits were just patches. Maybe that's not true. It's a lot of the 1 of 1s were just patches, where basketball didn't really do that for Exquisite. The 9 on the Messi is a huge deal. The out of 100, this is the rookie exclusives, Upper Deck exclusives. This is a basic parallel that they did across sport for many years. I think they still do this in hockey. And never really caught on in some of the other sports. But for Brady, for his Upper Deck rookie, that's one of his best cards. Another one of the more interesting comparisons that we're going to talk about, and we have a couple more comparisons to talk about here. In fact, before we get there, let's look at these. So look at the quality on this autograph card. You wouldn't say it's perfectly blue, I don't think, right? You'd say those autographs are not ideal, but they're not bad. They're not as bad as they could be. Let's put it that way. They're darker than they ought to be. The brand is Trilogy. The autographs are on card. Trilogy was like a $30 per pack product. Maybe a little bit more than that, actually. Was it $30 a pack and like 9 packs a box or something crazy like that? It wasn't Exquisite, but it was definitely a high-end product. So compare those autographs to these autographs right here. Specifically, we're looking at color. And I think you'll agree with me, even though I'm not perfect at this. These are not as bright as you'd like them to be. These are not ideal. These are further from ideal. I wouldn't be shocked if these two cards were from the same collection. In fact, I would guess that they probably are from the same collection. But that has been better preserved than that has been, although neither of them are perfect. To me, that was a big part of why. Whoop, now I clicked off a bit. Good job, Adam. That is a big part of why they sold for what they sold for. I would personally prefer to have this card as well. So, yeah, it's not shocking. I think it's an interesting one to look at. The second comparison I want to make from last week that's really interesting involves a card that I'm also going to include in the third comparison. Second one is this LeBron Gold from 2017. Let's compare it to this LeBron from 2012. And we'll highlight both of those as we talk about them. So the first one is a BGS 9.5 from 2017. It's a gold, so it's out of 10. And the second one is that iconic 2012 Prizm Silver, which is a PSA 10 in this case. And I think there's about 29 or 30 of these in existence. And this one sold for $24,600. It's interesting because the gold obviously sells for more, but only sells for 20% more. And it's the highest, not the highest level, but it's the highest level for normal people. And this one is, a more common card. There's like 180 of in existence. So again, this one sells for more, but what would seem like the appropriate multiplier between these two cards for you? And why might the silver be selling for something that's actually pretty close to what the gold sold for? Well, so I have some thoughts here that I think are worth sharing. This card's not viewed as like an ultra iconic card. This is the 5th year or 6th year Prizm card for LeBron. It's not one of the cards that you think of right off the top of your head. It's a Cavs era card, and again, it's part of the like. Let me come from this from a different direction. Who buys this card? The person who's putting together the set of gold Prizms from 2017, an ultra high-end LeBron collector, somebody who's putting together the run of LeBron golds, somebody who just wants to speculate on gold Prizm cards. Those are sort of the buyers on this card. The person who's looking for this card is a different fit. From where I sit, somebody who believes in 2012 Prizm is the iconic brand of the era. Somebody who believes who wants the most iconic card of LeBron as a member of the Heat. Somebody who's a PSA 10 collector. Somebody in general who just loves iconic cards. And then somebody who believes that it's not really understood how rare 2012 silvers are. This card, to me, although I got to the same number of people who try to collect it, the type of collector who's after this card there's a lot more of those people than there are these people. But there are several people who are super passionate about the projects that involve this. So even though this card is more plentiful, even though in a PSA 10, it's actually about 3 times as plentiful as there are of this card total, sort of understand why this would do what it did here. And then you would maybe follow up with the question, well, Adam, which of these two cards would you like in the long term? I have no idea, no clue how to think about that. I've always, so I'm going to just give my opinion here, which I don't always love to do, but I'll just share it here. So I've always loved this card. I used to actually own 2 copies of it. I don't own any these days. I've always loved this card as the first Prizm card, as being as rare as it is. I don't think people still have a clue how rare 2012 Prizm silvers are compared to the other years. You've got other years where you have thousands of copies of Prizm silvers. There's 180 of these ish that were produced. It's just not a very big number. And so I've always felt like even in any grade, it's a big card, but in a PSA 10, it's a huge, huge piece. And I think you could argue it's a top 5 most iconic LeBron card, maybe even top 4, probably not any higher than that. Our lists have indicated it's from the voting, it's more like 5. And I think that there's nothing controversial about saying it's a top 5 LeBron card of all time. And I think it's very clearly from a recognizability perspective, the most impressive Miami Heat card. Speaking of all of its versions, obviously. Okay, so that takes us to the next point that I want to hit from Fanatics Collect. So we saw the LeBron, and there's so many of these. Actually, let's not go through these too fast. We'll highlight the others as we get there, and you may already know where I'm going on this. We sell on this Rodman, almost $19,000. $19,000 for a PSA 10, 1980 Topps Nolan Ryan. Big Kevin Garnett sale, his Star Rubies from 98. So it's for $19,000. We continue to see some of these out of 50 Rubies PMG Championship type cards from the 90s sell astronomically high. Big Kobe Bryant autograph right here. This is the number 8 out of 99 in a PSA 10 autograph out of Select. It's really a beautiful image. Great on-card autograph of Kobe. Brock Purdy gold vinyl autograph, the $17,400. And then here's the Steph Curry, which we're going to bring up when we look at the LeBron again here in a second. And I want to talk about that. I saw a post from Cardboard Chronicles on his Instagram page that I think is worth thinking about there. I love this Carmelo. I highlighted it in my top 10. Really a beautiful logo man card. One of those cards that I promise you in hand is really spectacular. Noir did a good job on some of these types of cards using both acetate and holofoil, sweeping holofoil that sort of covers the card in a really beautiful way. Maybe I wouldn't maybe necessarily call it sweeping holofoil, but I think of it that way because it feels similar to the sweeping holofoil of Immaculate, but it's not. It's more just around the window and in the lettering, but it's really just a wonderful effect on acetate cards. And every time I see holofoil and acetate together, I'm always like drawn to that because it's beautiful. But $13,200 there for Carmelo probably speaks to the logoman market a little bit right now. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of enthusiasm for moving up into a logoman type card for a given player. This Carmelo really has everything going for it, other than that it's not a playing days card. He's in a New York uniform. It's a 1-of-1. Aesthetically, it's fantastic. I can't remember if on the back of this one it shows when he played the game. It might. I want to look at that quickly. And I'm going to look at that after I find the last card that I want to hit from the Fanatics Collect Weekly, which is coming up very shortly at the Kobe Bryant 2012 Silver Prizm and a PSA 10. So let's look at this Carmelo real quick, and then we'll come back to the other ones. Carmelo, yeah, it does, guys. This is, which was worn on 2/12/2017. So you get from this Carmelo in the uniform you want to see him in, when the jersey was worn, this logo man is from. It's just awesome. It's a really unique piece that Panini really knocked out of the park. And if you were to ask the question, okay, well, how many Carmelos would I rather have than that one? I personally think it's a pretty small number. Would you rather have this or one of his highest end rookie cards? Well, you're going to see those higher end rookie cards more often than you're going to see a game used logoman patch where you know what game it's from. And especially, again, that's a 1-of-1. It really just has so much going for it. I mean, other than an autographed logoman card or a similar or an ultra rare rookie card, maybe like a 2012 Prizm Gold, there aren't a lot of Carmelo cards that I'd rather have than this one. So it's high on the list. And I think $13,200 for it was a big number, given that it's just a logo man for Carmelo. But I get that selling price. I do. And I think whoever gets that one in hand is going to be really proud to own that one. Okay. So let's look at these three. So the point that Josh made, which I think is exactly right, is this is a really interesting moment where you get all three of these at the same time. I think I posted this to my top 10 as well, if I remember right. I surely meant to post it to my top 10. And yeah, this is a really interesting moment because how rare it is to see all three of these sell at the same time. So LeBron sells for 24.6. It's the first time I've seen a LeBron 10 sell in a while. Each of these we saw, I assume other copies, sell a few weeks ago at Fanatics Weekly, and they sold strong. They both hit 5 figures. I think both of them were lower than these, but this is the second time to see one of these sell in a few weeks, and I can't remember the last time we saw the LeBron. So what are my thoughts here? I think in general, I've always felt that the LeBron 2012 is the best of the 3 cards for a few reasons. And I want to describe why I think that might not be as true today as it was a few years ago in a second. But I want to start with like why I've always thought the LeBron is the best. And I'm coming at this from like the most unbiased place that I can, but also with a very clear big billboard that says, I own the golds of the Kobe and the Steph. Like, I own them. So remember that as I talk. I will try to be unbiased, and I think I'll do a good job of that. But it's impossible to completely remove myself from those cards. Okay, so let's start with that. So LeBron, the 2012 Prizm is the number 1 card in the set. I think that matters because it's the first year that it was made, first card in the set. And there he is as a member of the Heat again. And I already mentioned this earlier in the earlier section, comparing it to the gold, but like it's the Heat LeBron card. It's the card. LeBron's got lots of Cavs cards. He's got lots of Lakers cards. He has like 1 Heat card that's ultra recognizable. So for all of those reasons, and then LeBron's like the player of this era. He's in the middle of going to the finals so many different times. So for all those reasons, I look at it and I've always felt like that's the card from Prizm, right? Like that's the one that's going to be the best gold Prizm. That's the best silver Prizm. It just is. It just is. And that's been the thought for a long time. And over here, then you've got Steph and you've got Kobe. And just to speak to the Steph briefly, again, with the big billboard that I already talked about. Okay. So please don't miss that. I'm trying to own that and have an open conversation best way that I can here. The Steph's really interesting from the perspective that before this, he didn't have any chromium cards where he's in a Warriors uniform. He has the Topps Chrome from his rookie year before this. That's the only chromium card that comes before this. But he's not wearing a Warriors uniform. The Warriors logo is on the card, but people have complained forever about what that image looks like. So then this card came out. And when it came out, Steph wasn't even that popular, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. But then the years go by, people realize how much they love Prizm, how big of a brand it is. And, this has become more known as like one of the more recognizable Steph Curry cards of all time. And again, big billboard, okay? Like, I struggle talking about cards. I struggle talking about cards that I own or own a variation of because I have been and will continue to be accused of trying to inflate the values of my own cards. But again, I think that this is a good story and an important story. So I'm going to continue to endeavor, but I hope you guys will have patience with me as I try to do that. And if anything, hopefully I stay more on the conservative side talking about it. So, all those things that I just said are true. The fact that there's only 180-ish compared to other future silvers, I think really matters. And, we all know that Steph Curry and LeBron James had the same number of championships, and Steph beat him in the finals a couple of times. And we also know that there's this love for Steph that is like, it's different than what LeBron has because he's been loyal to his town where he was drafted. And he's had, tremendous success in changing the world from a cultural perspective. I think he's more universally loved than LeBron is. I think that's pretty obvious. LeBron has some of the negativity that's come to him over the course of the last few years. I talked to Nat Turner about this a little bit when we talked, and I'll drop that conversation pretty soon. Full conversation we had a couple months ago about how, about some of the biggest LeBron cards. But there's a lot of haters today for LeBron. There's not really the same thing for Steph. Like Steph's just really like a beloved player. And so it's not the number 1 card in the set though. And, but it's, so where LeBron has lots of chromium cards before this, Steph just has the one. And so the question that I think, this is really an interesting question actually, for which player is it the more important card? Well, we already know that what I said about LeBron, that this is probably like his 5th most iconic card. I don't know where you're going to put this one. Big billboard, okay? I don't know where you're going to put it. You're certainly not going to put it above the Topps rookie, and you're certainly not going to put it above the National Treasures rookie. I'm not actually sure. I don't know what just happened there. I'm not actually sure if there's another card that you're going to put above it. What do you guys think? Is there another card that goes above this one in the Steph hierarchy as far as like recognizable cards? There has widely been discussed a $650,000 sale of his gold Prizm BGS 9.5 that moved at the West Coast Card Show. I have not posted about that, but in this limited version where a few hundred of you are watching, I sort of feel comfortable saying like that's a thing that happened. BGS 9.5, I don't know what the subgrades were or anything like that, but that's a huge sale. And then right now at Golden, there is in their Golden 100, there is a LeBron that's a BGS 9.5 as well. And I don't know how those two things will compare. I don't know. What I do know is I went to lunch with somebody at National who is a buyer of these types of cards. And I said, what would you rather have, a LeBron or a Kobe? We'll get to the Kobe in a second of this set. And he said, Kobe. And I was like, seriously though, which one's worth more? Kobe. He just said it definitively. And I was really surprised. It's like, why is that the case? And he said, if I had a LeBron, I would sell it and buy a Kobe with it. I would want the Kobe. He was speaking to the golds. And so this takes me to part of a conversation that I want to have about extrapolating sort of gold type prices from the silvers, or not necessarily even prices, but like demand. But before I do that, we see Kobe sold for $11,700, Steph sold for $13,200, and LeBron sells for over twice as much as what the Kobe sold for, and almost twice as much as the Steph. So on this day, the LeBron silver wins. He is number one in the hierarchy. He won this, and that's all we can conclusively say from the sales that happened on Sunday. That's all we can conclusively say. My question for you is, as it pertains to the Steph Gold private sale that we saw and the LeBron gold that's at Golden right now, how do those two things compare? And I don't know. I think some people are going to say, well, Adam, we already have something to base a multiplier on here. Steph sold for 13.2 and LeBron sold for 24.6, which is like a 1.9 multiple or something. So whatever this sold for, the gold of the LeBron should sell for 1.9 times that. This is what I want to focus on real quick. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true because the person who's buying these level of cards is not the same as the person who's buying the golds. These can give us a valuable data point when comparing to the golds. They're not necessarily going to be the same. We used to see this in Beckett sometimes where they would have like a multiplier from a base card to a parallel. If you're somebody who's been around for a while, you'll remember the Beckett would say something like, here are the base cards, and then it would list the parallel, and it would say, like it did this for PMG Reds. It would say like the PMG Red is worth 50 times what the base card is worth, or something like that. But then certain players would be listed, and if the card was individually listed, that superseded what the multiplier was. The individually listed was the number. So it might have like the Jordan Red, and the Jordan Red might be listed at 100 times what the parallel would have indicated. And I think that there's some of that happens here where I don't know what this LeBron is going to sell for, the 2012 that moves in a few weeks at the Golden 100. But I don't think that what Steph high-end collectors are paying for this card, or what somebody would pay for the Kobe, I don't think that it necessarily positive or minus or negative. I don't think that there's a clear multiplier. I don't think you can say, I mean, like, let's say that if this stuff sold for 13 and it's a PSA 10, which is better than the 9.5 grade of the 650, that's 50x. From a PSA 10 to a BGS, from a PSA 10 silver to a BGS 9.5 gold is a 50x based on the card that we have heard reported sold at the West Coast Card Show. Would that be the same thing here? That would imply that the LeBron gold, it's golden, sells for $1.3 million. Do we think that will happen? It might. I'm not going to be surprised if it doesn't, though. And I'm not saying that to try to, I just don't know. I'm not going to be bidding on it. I will say that. Some people are probably like, you probably want it, right? Like, it's been number one on my want list for a really long time. But it's not, I can't rationalize going out and spending the hundreds of thousands of dollars that card will cost. So I do think it's a really interesting conversation. I think Josh is right that for sure on this day, this was the hierarchy as the bidding happened. I don't know that that's the case amongst the golds. Big billboard. I am sort of implying some of the things that I've talked about with other people, including offers that I've gotten on those other cards, and sort of comparing that to what I suspect the LeBron's going to sell for based on what I know about the market. And I just don't think, I guess, bottom line, I'm trying to not say certain things. But I'm trying to be like super transparent at the same time, which is a hard thing to do. I don't know whether these silvers also sort of represent what we will see in the golds. And that's all I'm going to say. And I belabored that way too long, but I hope you guys found that conversation interesting. Okay, let's talk about the golden auction from last week. The golden weekly ended on Thursday. And what's interesting is you still have some Caitlin Clarks here right toward the top. I talked about how we're probably seeing some real Caitlin fatigue, and I believe that's true. But look, two of the biggest sales last week are this black gold Caitlin, which is a pretty huge card, of her secondary Prizm card for $27,000, and her select WNBA card. I don't like calling this secondary. I don't know what to call it. I like that it's a base card. I like that it looks like a rookie. It looks nicer than her rookie. I don't like calling it secondary. This is certainly one of her better cards in existence, and I would rather have this than a lot of cards that are selling for higher of Caitlin Clark. A big Mbappe sale, $13,000 for this Nike swoosh autograph. We're seeing some more Messis in these mid-grades creep into the higher end part of this auction. People are so hyped on those. I wanted to highlight this Chris Paul card. If you need any more evidence of how people think about the 2018 Kaboom Gold set, this Chris Paul surely provides that. Chris Paul is not known as somebody who has a lot of high-end cards. Even looking back to his rookies, his exquisites, his highest end rookie cards, you are going to be very hard-pressed to get toward $8,000 on almost anything. And yet, in 2018, there's this Kaboom Gold set, this multi-sport set where Chris Paul in a Rockets uniform, number to 10 in a PSA 9, moves for almost $8,000. Show me another place you're going to get $8,000 for a Chris Paul card, guys. There's very few spots. And what this speaks to is the unbelievable value that high-end set collectors can bring. This card is not being purchased by a Chris Paul fan unless, there's some Chris Paul fan who just wants to own, the cards that sell for the very most, and that's possible. This card is very most likely being purchased by somebody who's putting together the set. There is at least one individual who's putting together the set. I believe there's more. I think it's a cool set from the perspective of every card in the set sort of matters. Like, you look at, let's compare this with the 2012 gold set that we were just talking about. 2012 gold Prizm gold, again, billboard, it's so important for so many different reasons. But of those 300 cards, you have how many guys that you really feel like really matter. Whereas the 2018, let's look at Chris Paul. Does Chris Paul matter? Okay, if Chris Paul matters in Kaboom, he matters in the Prizm set. Okay, fair. How many guys are there Chris Paul's level or above in the Prizm set? It's like 20, 25, maybe 30 guys, unless you're going to count the retired guys, because you have rookies, you have stars, you have legacy guys, you have all these guys. And remember, Chris Paul doesn't have like a PMG Green. He didn't play in the 90s. So he's one of the top 25-ish guys in the 2012 Prizm Gold set. But where does he fit in the 2018 Prizm or Panini Kaboom Gold set? He probably doesn't even finish that high. I don't even know how many cards there are in the set. I think it's maybe 50. But like he's probably in the lower couple. How can he be so low on this set, but so high on or so much higher on the 2012 set? Because this is a multi-sport set, right? You've got football cards and I think baseball cards and other brand or other sports and soccer cards for sure. And so Chris Paul doesn't have as much importance, but for a set collector, that's really interesting, I think, because with 2012 Prizm Gold, you've got like Jimmer Fredette's rookie card, and like he's probably like a top 50 percentile of the set, right? There's a lot of guys in that set you don't remember, you don't know unless you're a crazy basketball person. And there's something to that too, right? Like for all those guys, for almost all those guys in that set, I shouldn't say that. For most of the guys in the set, the 2012 Prizm Gold set is going to be their highest selling card or one of their highest selling cards in existence. That's not as much true for the Kaboom Gold set, right? So it depends on what you want. But as a set collector, I can imagine saying, hey, I want to find these 50 cards. And so I think that's really interesting. Alt had a few really big sales. And so we're going to look at those. This Giannis Lillard, I had, I don't know, 20 different people message me and say, did you see that? Did you see the logo man autos are going crazy, Adam? And I'm like, again, I know. I'm aware of that. Adam, how much is you? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I did think this sell was interesting because these guys didn't really have like a great experience together, but they're so beloved, both of them. And so that yielded almost 100 grand. I would have rather had this Kobe logo, limited logos from the first year. I think it's my old card, BGS 95, 78 grand. I think it's my old card from 15 years ago, by the way. That's why I can't go find an image. Joe Burrow Gold Prizm, the real Gold Prizm rookie card, 95 to 73 grand. The LeBron Chosen One, a card that I've just always loved of LeBron. You might not love the sort of implications of him putting the Chosen One on a card, but that guy has lived up to every billing. $58,000 on that card, $52,000 here. Jaden Daniels, I don't know if this is Optic Downtown Duo, 49 grand. The autographed copy of the Peyton Manning 1/1 that we know there's 2 of. Wonderful card though. And then there's a couple of big Prizm Gold cards here that a lot of people referenced. 40 grand on the LeBron and a PSA 10. Iconic Laker image. I believe this is the first time he's actually featured as a Laker. Is that right? Maybe he has one before this. Gosh, he's been on the Lakers now for a while. Sort of shocking he's lasted as long as he has. One of the best Jaylen Brown cards in existence. $34,000 for his immaculate Logoman RPA. I love this Mahomes. I love this Mahomes more based on how it did on the 25 and 25 rankings. Ooh, quick plug. We're getting close on the book. We're getting close on the 25 and 25 book. That is coming. By the time it comes out, some of you are going to be like, I don't even care about this anymore. And that's totally fine. But I think you're going to like it. I think it's going to be really good. And if you have interest in it, come. We're not going to make any money on it. It's going to be it's a labor of love for the hobby. The goal is to put something out there that helps educate and makes us better. And so I think you guys will really like it, but that will be out soon. The Mahomes Optic was the most surprising card to me as far as how well the community ranked the card. The community had it as a top 10 card of the 2000s, which is really shocking. This is the black. Black is not numbered to 1. The black is numbered to 25, but it's a huge piece. 30 grand on that. Steph PSA 8 refractor, 29,000. And then one of the cards that was discussed a lot, and I looked at it. So Alt did a post on this that I thought was good. So Alt did a post on this card I really liked. They compared this, which is a PSA 9, and they compared it to a PSA 10. In fact, can we go find it real quick? I'm going to find it. I just want to show you guys. So I want you to see what I'm talking about here. So, okay. So let's bring this over here. So Alt did this post. Okay. And so this is the post. PSA 9 copy just sold for nearly $20,000 more than the most recent PSA 10 sale. And then you look at it and it's like, oh wow, there was a 10 that sold for $7,000 and the 9 selling for $26,000. Then this one sold on eBay, this one sold on Alt. This is really strong marketing from Alt because it's like, look, our card in our auction sold for way more than it did at eBay. Embedded within this, the thing that they're not saying is like, look, this one was sold in May 2024. This one sold almost a year and a half later in 2025. And that's really the story, right? Is how this kind of card has grown over the last year and a half. Like I said, it's good marketing because it sort of implies like, look, this happened because it sold on Alt versus eBay. And there may be something like the Alt card on Alt may really sell for more than the one on eBay. I'm not trying to dismiss that or anything. But I think we're those of us who understand what's going on here understand that the biggest component here is the year and a half that has passed on these two cards. Now, what's really interesting is if you look at the comments, and sometimes for whatever reasons, the comments don't pop up right away. Let's see if my Instagram's giving me a little bit of a hard time to just get to the comments, and that's not shocking. But the reason that I wanted to bring that up was that the comments are very like, oh, this is shilled, and oh, this is because, you know, this was sold on Alt, and you know, it's like all this super negative stuff that's like sort of assuming that something nefarious has gone on. Now, to be clear, there is a chance that somebody is deliberately trying to hype that card. There is a real chance of that. But based on what I know about what I've seen happening and what offers have been made to me on different cards, this auction was not even a little bit surprising. Sorry, that sounds super hypey to some people, but like, it's just sort of recognizing, like, I think that the auction here is probably on the up and up. It's probably good to go. I can't tell. So there's like different words that they use. Yeah, there's like sold and pending, payment initiated. There's different things here. This one just says sold. So, you know, is there a difference between sold and, I don't know how to tell if something hasn't been paid for. I don't know if at this point sold means that it's been paid for. I don't know. So that's always a key thing to know. But I wasn't really surprised at the price here at all. Like, it's a good sell, but it's not shocking. As we move away, I've literally been talking to you guys about this for years now, right? Like, and it's not because I'm smart. It's because this is really obvious. We can look at what happened when we left the Topps and Upper Deck era, and we can apply that to what was going to happen when we left the Panini era. But the thing that's a little bit different is we should be a lot smarter. When we first left the Topps and Upper Deck era, most of us hadn't been through that before. But what happened was people looked back at the era and they said, what mattered from this period that isn't going to be made anymore? Because we didn't know it wasn't going to be made anymore. And now I think we're going to miss it. And, you know, you look back at like the LeBron autographs and the Kobe autographs and the exquisite stuff and Topps Chrome Gold refractors and superfractors, and some of these things that weren't made. And then like they progressed at different times, but where we've gotten to right now is there's this real love for some of those cards that existed then that didn't exist then after. So now apply that to us leaving the Panini era. Apply that. And what you will note is that there are certain things that are really beloved that aren't going to exist anymore. That's why whenever we talk about like these Prizm gold runs that lots of collectors are doing, my friend G, the Lucky Show 05, has done his from 2012 up until the current, and I think he's missing 1 or 2 Currys at this point. And there's several others who have done that, and there's lots of people who've tried to do it with Kobe and LeBron, and all, and like I'm sort of kind of doing it with Rudy Gobert just because I love Rudy Gobert. I know people are like, why do you collect Steph Curry 2012 Prizm Golds and Rudy Gobert? Like, I just love cards, okay? So, and I have different things that I like for different reasons. But you can both be a collector of something that's low dollar and high dollar and enjoy it. I digress. For Steph, he has a 2012 Prizm Gold and a 2024 Prizm Gold and years everywhere in between. That's 13 years. That means that he has 130 gold Prizm cards total. And that really matters to some people. Some people are going to look at the Panini era as we get further and further away from it and go, oh, wow, that era was so cool. And oh, wow, those are the cards of Steph that matter so much. And oh, I want to get some of those. Wouldn't it be nice if I could just get one? And that's why a PSA 9 from 2023 Prizm Gold sold for $26,400. And I would guess that the sale really did happen. I would guess that it really is paid for. It does not seem weird to me at all. And that's not shilling. It's not manipulation. That's how supply and demand works, guys. And I know that that's not the popular thing to say, because anytime somebody says, this is shilling, this is bad, whatever, like all of these people jump in and they're like, yes. And some people act like that makes them like these good actors for the hobby. It gives them these good feels to sort of highlight things that might be manipulated. But I've got bad news for you. If you are manipulating something downward deliberately, if you are deliberately trying to make something be worth less because something might be happening that you can't substantiate, that's also manipulation. It's just manipulation in the opposite direction than what you're usually thinking about. That's also not a free market doing what it's supposed to do. But with that said, I understand the want to try to say, hey, there's some bad things happening. There's some bad actors. There's something evil or gross happening. I need to uncover this. You just have to do it in the right way. And so when you discover it and you know it and you sort of can sort of like highlight, here's how I know that this is happening. Man, some of that stuff, some of the most important content in the whole hobby. And those people who do that deserve a lot of credit for it. They deserve their roses and their accolades and all that stuff. But to those of you who just, and I don't think, my guess is very few of those people watch the show, but to those of you who just see stuff and you're like, there might be something wrong. I need to talk about it. And I need to let people know. I would be a little bit more careful. Sometimes you might be right, and then you might feel some vindication. But for those times that you're wrong and you're sort of, you're just trying to convince people of something that isn't necessarily true, like I just think there's damage that's done there. Take that for what it's worth. Take it for what it's worth. But for me, this sale sort of seems like a normal price to me. At least at this point it does. All right. Is enough on those cards. You've probably seen a ton on the Fanatics Collect Premier already. I'm taking way too long on my historic sales from this week, but I want to just highlight just a few of these. So 504,000 for the Caitlin. I still think this is the best Caitlin card. I think this is a better card than the Flawless, but other people will disagree. And the Flawless sold for more. So within a couple of months. And so maybe people will think the Flawless is the better card. I don't know. Historic sale for Barry Sanders in the world of 90s football. $372,000 for the green, number to 15. Really a banger condition-wise card. Number to 15, PSA 8. $444,000 on the 1980 Topps Magic Bird Irving. It's actually a step down from where the last couple sold. Not sure because it's a lower quality card or because maybe the people who wanted the card have already found it, but it's obviously awesome. Huge sale on this Messi, $276,000, Mantle 6.5, $372,000 because this card is a 10-10 with a really nice patch. It's a really giant sale for that card, in my opinion, because it's a numbered out of 99. I mean, there's 99 of those, and I get that you can make the case that between the condition and the patch, maybe it's one of the best ones in existence. That's what the person who bought it thought. That's my guess. Look, there's only 5 10-10s in the card, and do any of them have a patch that look like that? That's what we highlighted last week. Not really sure. Really interesting to see the Duncan sell for what it sold for. Duncan is not a sexy type player, whereas Barry is. 50% more berries than there are the Duncan, but this one's a PSA 8. This one's a BGS 8. This one's a rookie, which means more of these were probably preserved over the years as sort of considered as something material, rather than like some of these berries might have been lost. In all, you might have about the same number that exist. I'd rather have the Duncan because I'm a basketball collector, but I understand all day the highlight reel sort of culture that we live in really caters to Barry in a way that it does not cater to Timmy. It does not. His highlights, not as fun to watch as his. But that's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. This also, I would highlight here, and I always do this with this card. One of the conversations I've had with people over the years, a lot of really smart people that I just really fundamentally disagree with. In fact, my good friend MK Sports Cards has posted about this recently on his Instagram, so I'll highlight it. He's talked a lot about how he feels that the best like resumes, the players who are considered the best, that over time that will really win out in terms of value. And I just don't agree with him at all on this. There's nothing to indicate that that's true at all. And I'm not trying to be like, he's one of the smartest people I know in this hobby, but I don't think he's close to right. He and I have had dozens of conversations about this, and I don't agree with him at all. Honus Wagner's the most valuable baseball player or card ever, and he's not the best baseball player ever. Kobe Bryant, I don't believe, was as good of a basketball player in terms of creating wins as Tim Duncan. I think Tim Duncan's resume is better than Kobe's, marginally. Not like way, way better, but marginally better. They have the same number of championships. Timmy was the best player in all of his. Kobe was not the best player in all of his, but he was essential for all 5 championships. Timmy is just amazing. Timmy is nowhere near as interesting to collect as Kobe Bryant, nowhere near as popular, and will never, ever in a billion years be worth anywhere close to Kobe. It does not matter how good he was. It does not matter. Penny Hardaway will always be worth more than Hakeem Olajuwon. They played in the same era, and one guy won championships, and one guy got hurt. Penny will never, ever be worth less than Hakeem Olajuwon. It will never happen. Tim Duncan will never be worth what Kobe Bryant is. If this was a Kobe Bryant PMG green up, it would have been one of the stories of the year. It would have sold for in the millions of dollars. I suspect $2 to $3, maybe more $1 million. I suspect. I could be wrong completely. I don't know. But it's just an illustration, guys. It's not about how good your resume is. It is not. Full stop. Period and end of story. It is about how popular you are. And that popularity can continue forever, not based on how good you are, but based on how good your story is. And I just say that with all the passion that I can, because I've watched this for 30-something years now. I remember looking in the Beckett as a kid. Like, I literally wrote to Beckett about this as a like 8 or 9-year-old. I was such a big fan of my local team, the Utah Jazz. John Stockton couldn't even get cards listed in the Beckett as a guy who was making all NBA first teams. He couldn't get his cards listed in the Beckett, whereas guys like Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway and Damon Stoudemire and, these guys that ended up doing nothing ended up being worth more than him in regular sets. And I was just like, why is this the case? And I wrote Beckett, and I was like, how come my guys aren't worth anything? And they're like some of the greatest players of all time. And these younger guys are worth so much money. How can that be? All these years later, amazingly, in some of those rarest parallels, sometimes those guys that are almost forgotten are still worth more. Why? Because they were so popular. Again, look at Penny Hardaway. What did Penny Hardaway's career look like compared to John Stockton's? It's not close. Who's PMG green? Well, actually, whose PMG green might be worth more? Stockton might be worth more, but that's only because Nat doesn't have Stockton's. Without exception, other than that card, you're going to take the Penny Hardaway over the Stockton from a value perspective. And again, that is because how great of a player you are. Does not matter. Does not matter. All that matters is how popular you are in the long term. All right, this Kobe right here was super interesting. The other one of these was a tag. This one sold for $174,000. That is almost as much as I paid for the first ever logo man of Kobe Bryant, which is also autographed. So that tells you how much the market's moved in the last 2 years. almost as much for a out of 2 National Treasures logo man as an Upper Deck era logo man auto, which was his first one ever. It's interesting that world has moved significantly, and there's a million other cards here that we'd like to look at. Give a very brief look. I highlighted this Tim Duncan card last week. We don't know what the inscription will be on here, or even if it will be inscribed, but it sold for $15,000 at Hoodies. And at MC, there were a ton of over $5,000 items sold in the last week. We're just looking at a few of them right here, right now. I love this Babe Ruth that sold yesterday. This Jordan right here, the grade on this is doing some heavy lifting. Heavy lifting. This isn't even the highest level of the card. It's not even the row 0. It's from 1997. It's the basic row 1. Sold for $7,200. $5,300 for the. I always call this Merchante, but I don't even know what it is. I highlighted this Gronk as my favorite card of the week. Somebody as recognizable as Gronk. His out of 5 NTRPA, $6,000. I personally think that's a steal. I do. From the perspective of how beloved he is, to give my friend MK a shout out, he always says people don't collect football cards. They don't collect football cards the same way they collect basketball cards. He's right. This same level, or if there was somebody who has the same recognizability as Gronk, and it sold in the NT out of 5, it would sell for way more than this. Like way more. So that's, I don't know. I don't know what that means, but it is what it is. And is there anything else that we want to point out? No, we're going to call it there. Okay. I don't have any other thoughts as far as like random thinking from this week. I wanted to share some more on those historical sales. We're already 51 minutes in. Go take a break if you need to, but I'm going to keep plugging away here. Let's talk about, so these are the things that we're going to talk about now. I want to talk about the Golden Elite that is ending just this week. I think it ends, is it Thursday? Or sorry, the weekly ends Thursday. The Elite ends over the weekend. And we've got both of them. At least I meant to pull up both of them. I don't have both of them. We will spend a lot of time on the Golden Elite. That's where we're going to spend the majority of our time today. But let's hit the weekly real quick. And then we'll hit Alt Weekly real quick. Hoodies, Fanatics Weekly. Heritage actually has an auction up right now you might not have known of. And then, like I said, we're going to spend the majority of our time this week, although I forgot it. We're going to spend forgot to pull it up. We're going to spend the majority of our time on the Golden Elite, which ends on Saturday. And we're going to save that. We're going to save that for last, actually. And then we're going to pick out a top 5 this week from all the items that are up. That's what we always do. Look at all of the biggest auctions of the week and just figure out 5 that are the most interesting stories to watch for me. So 2018 Chrome update, Juan Soto, obviously a super recognizable card, $35,000. This is the red 3 out of 5. It's also a Gem 10. Great looking Brady here. This is one of his better known flawless patch autographs. There's only a couple of them. And this is one of them at $18,000. This Bo Nix auction is going to be a big story, given that his popularity is where it is, and that this is the 1/1 Nebula. That's one to watch this week for sure. Joe Burrow's NTRPA, numbered out of 99, BGS 9, 13 grand. Really cool tag RPA of Jalen Hurts. This one's numbered out of, this is the 1/1. Really cool because it's got the little NFL logo and the Nike swoosh, $12,000. 11 grand on this Jaden Daniels Select. I think this is the XRC. Yes, the XRC. What is this stuff? Vibes. I don't know what vibes are, and I'm not going to learn right now. Penguins and Who is the Star selling for a bunch of money. Piggy banks. Not going to spend any time on piggy banks either. Not that there's not real value in those things. It's not my deal, guys. Pokemon, not my deal. I do have an interesting story on this LeBron Kobe right here, this 1/1. So Premier, I've talked to my friend Jeremy Lee about this. Upper Deck Premier was viewed differently in hockey than it was in basketball. It was viewed as a more premium thing in hockey. And I really liked it in basketball. In fact, I have a fun story about this one. So probably, I don't know what year it would have been. Maybe like 2010 or 2011. There was a triple triple patch out of this same year of Premier. And it was these two guys plus Kobe. I should remember that. Might have been, I think it was these two and Kobe. Gosh, it might have been these two and Garnett. I think it was these two and Kobe. I should know that. It's obviously really important to know. I think it was these two and Kobe. And the foil was not perfect on it. The foil on these is somewhat fragile. The patches weren't incredible. It was a 1 of 1, and it was in hollow foil. And I bought it on eBay for, it's going to sound crazy, I think I paid like $250 for it. And in those days, I was very much interested in taking stuff and flipping it quickly for a profit. That is not how I operate today in any way, shape, or form. If you've looked at my collection, you know the majority of the stuff that sits at the top of my collection I've had for 10 plus years. No, not 10 plus. A lot of it I've owned for 10 plus years, but almost all of it I've owned for like 5 plus years. So I hold my stuff for a long time, but back then I didn't. And the triple that I had of these three was these two, and I believe Kobe was just such a cool card. And I was like, I'd love to keep this in the long term. I put it on eBay and I listed it for $500 or something. And somebody came along and offered $400. And I was like, that's a quick $100 flip after fees. And I took it, and then he got it in the mail. And I think what happened really was he realized that I'd flipped it because it was still in the eBay completed listings. There were no pricing services at that point where you could go look and see all the prices historically. So I think he just looked at the eBay and he went, oh man, I'm flipping this for too little. But what he told me is he said, you know, this card isn't in the condition that I thought it was going to be. I want to return it. So he returned it. Frustrated me so bad. And I sent it into Beckett and I got an 8.5 grade. So it wasn't perfect, but like for the set, it was fine. And I remember telling him, I was like, dude, this card got an 8.5. He's like, yeah, that's good for you or something. And I was just like, yeah, whatever, dude. So I listed it again and I got $500 for it. So I ended up making even more. I felt like a genius. And of course, all these years later, I'm like, man, that was so stupid because this set's really a beautiful set. And it's a 1 of 1 of those two. It's a 1 of 1 patch of Jordan and LeBron, or in my case, the big three. And, you know, if that said exquisite on it, which it looks just as nice as exquisite, like Premier was beautiful. It was a beautiful set. Lots of wonderful hollow foil usage, great design. If it said exquisite, how much would it be worth? It'd be worth so much money. So I really like that card a lot. And I think it'll be an interesting one to watch this week. Let's just scroll to the end of this one. So 2024, Drake May. This is a really interesting one with Kobe and MJ, both from 02, also including Garnett. I think it's numbered out of 15, right? Yeah, SP triples are numbered out of 15 that year. So that's a huge piece. And that's it for Golden. So this week, their weekly ends on Thursday. It always ends on Thursday. There's still, sometimes with the Golden Weekly, you'll find some stuff that goes for a really good price. So I would always recommend checking that out. For Alt for the week, there's a few really huge cards up. Alt continues to get big cards because of their card show strategy. They're providing cash at a lot of card shows, and because of that, they're getting some big cards. A 9.5 on the Curry. We're going to look at this double jewelry here. I'm virtually certain those are on sticker autographs, but I want to talk about that set a little bit. The Chet is obviously a really big card. Really, really big card. And then we get another gold of LeBron. We're seeing more golds of some of these years that are not as desirable years. Saw one last week. Saw another one. Seeing another one this week. It's interesting. If we keep seeing those sell, what's going to happen? We're going to see the prices come down. Just like anything, by the way. Anything is like that. If you see stuff sell a lot, prices will come down. Period. Some people think it's good to see a comp. It is bad to see a comp. You do not want to see a comp. Is this Kobe a 1 of 1? Oh, that's cool. We got to look at that and see if that's a sticker or on card. So we've highlighted a few. There's another LeBron gold. So 2017 BGS 9.5. And did I miss it? 2016 PSA 10 in the same auction. PSA 10's 1 of 10. This one's 8 out of 10 in the same auction, though, guys. What is this? I don't know this dude, but that is a sweet card. Okay, we're gonna just look at a couple of these real quick. So One of the things that Alt could do a little better is their high quality imaging. I can't see this card as well as I'd like to be able to see. What you can do is if you get your face really darn close to it, you can see that those are on stickers. I would also tell you, though, I've maybe seen this card in person. I've certainly seen a couple of them. I believe that the dual part of the set, there's only 10 of, and then there's like, I can't remember. Look it up. But there's like 45 singles of each guy, and there's like a 1-on-1 parallel for each of them. And then there's like, I think there's like 10 duels. I think. I might be wrong. This is one of those 10. It's a really cool piece. And in hand, even though it's a sticker auto, it is gorgeous. The holofoil on the card is really something. And that card will light it up, like light up the room. That card glows more than you think it will. It's really cool. But you might be anti-sticker and might just be out on it. It's one of the best Chet Holmgren cards in the world. It's moved a couple of times, and I don't know if it's because people are like, there's something maybe about just how tall and skinny Chet is that sort of throws people off. Chet's freaking awesome. Like, I love Chet Holmgren. I love how he plays, and he has a potential that is unlimited. I actually really like the look of the card. I really like Chet a lot as a player. I don't know how he'll work out as far as an investment goes, because I don't know if people will just always view him as like, there's something about being light-skinned and tall that maybe doesn't work out well for you. I can't look at Jokic, for example. Like, he's the best player of our era, and he just does not get the love. Maybe that's just about being a big guy. But there's other big guys that have like real love. People really like collecting them. Chet, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Chet Holmgren. But I really like him. Would it shock me if Chet Holmgren makes 5+ All-NBA teams? It won't shock me at all. And that sort of potential on a card like this, like, I don't know, like maybe it's because he's secondary to Shea. Could this guy lead a team to a championship? I think so. He's awesome, guys. He'll be a top 5 defensive player, and I think a top 5 offensive player at some point. And that's a really rare thing to be able to say. He can shoot threes. He can score from the inside. He can do anything offensively. Can he stay healthy? That's really the question. LeBron, gold, 2016. And I think we said it's number 1 of 10, right? Can I see that on the back here? I can barely see it. 1 of 10. It's hard to get imaging right. It's really hard to get imaging right. But yeah, I'd like to be able to see the cards a little bit better than I can see them. I will say they do such a great job, of highlighting the important things. Alt does a fantastic job of that, of a lot of that stuff, like way better than other places do. I actually really like how you have like sometimes little descriptions too. Highest graded copy, pop 28. Like, this is important stuff that they include here. A lot of it is. Some of it's maybe like lacking a little bit. Like this one right here, BGS 8.5. That's probably less important. I'd love to hear where that signature comes from on that card, though. They could tell that story. That would be a little bit better. This one, I wonder, does it say on this Kobe whether it's on card or not? Let's see. Certified. I'm just looking to, don't mind me. Yeah, see, this just says 1 of 1, choice hollow. Now, if it's on card, that's actually what I would have loved to know from the outside. Now, I'm going to be different than everybody else. Though. They don't have to just cater to me, right? They should be just telling the story. That is an on-card autograph, though. This is a fantastic card right here. I didn't know this existed, probably because, although I consider myself a big Kobe collector, I don't really look at his stuff from past his playing days. This card is from past his playing days. This card is also from one of the brands of the Panini era. Whether you like it or not, Totally Certified is actually really loved by a lot of people. There's the year where they have like the holofoily, die-cutty type cards, and then they had the first real big parallel of the Panini era in 2010 Certified when the greens and the blacks just absolutely exploded. That was short-lived, but it did really explode for a time. I remember it because I had a Kobe Green autograph, number 5, that was one of the biggest cards I'd ever sold at that point. I digress. The story here is this. This card in hand is glorious. My hope is that Alt will do a story with this card in hand so you can see what that platinum holofoil looks like. It's unreal. And the fact that that autograph is on card and it's a 1-of-1, this is one of the coolest cards of the week for sure. I'm absolutely putting it over here as maybe one of my top 5 cards. And I hope that because I haven't seen this card at auction before, at least I don't remember seeing it at auction. I hope that we get to see what this card looks like in hand in a video. So, dear Alt team, if that's possible, that would be really cool. All right, let's get out of here. Oh yeah, I don't know who this dude is. Plays for Memphis. Yuki Kawamura. I think I probably studied this guy in my draft studies, but look at that signature. It is amazing. This is his real Logoman RPA out of NT. I think you're going to see a big number on number 136. This is this dude's best card in existence. Now, I don't know who this dude is, but you guys have to know the Asian markets for basketball cards are absolutely insane. The Asian markets for basketball cards are insane. Every time we see somebody get to the NBA who was from Asian descent, and it's been every time, right? Utah Tabusi, anybody remembers him? Gigi Wang Gigi. I can't remember which name is first. Obviously Yao, and then even a guy of Asian descent, but who I think lived in America his whole life, Jeremy Lin. Every time we've seen one of those guys hit the league, it is a huge deal as long as they can perform. There was also the guy in 2007, Yi Jianlian. I can't remember how to say his name. It's been a while. But every time somebody of Asian descent gets to the league, it has the chance to do really big things. And this is literally this guy's best card in existence, according to most people, is NT Logoman RPA. And that autograph, I don't know if he signs all of his cards like that, but that's a really amazing autograph. Okay, I'm going to get out of that. That card could be a top 5 card of the week, but I don't know him. I don't know that guy. So I'll just leave it at that. We'll hit hoodies very briefly. Speaking of Jeremy Lin, big dual Logoman tag right here. An SGA retro patch auto. That's a redemption, a Cal Raleigh first Bowman gold autograph. D Rose autograph with inscription. We saw one similar to this recently, maybe even the same copy. A Kobe Bryant game used jersey. This is his first game used jersey card from '98. That's obviously a big piece. Kirk Heinrich Logoman, $1,200. And then the Kobe 96 tops in a PSA 10. We've seen that one really grow as of recently. Look at that Barry Bonds. His autograph continues to be one of the best autographs in existence. Man, another really strong auction for these guys. There's a lot of good stuff up right now. We'll call it there for hoodies. And okay, now let's get into the Fanatics Weekly. So we got Fanatics Weekly, we've got Heritage, we've got Card Hobby, and then the big auction of the week, the Golden Elite. And we're going to choose 5 from these. My goal on these always, by the way, Golden Elite's going to be so good. Part of you might want to just skip there, and I get that from the very beginning. I'm sure some people will have skipped there. I'm not going to let all 5 of my favorite cards be from one auction. Some of these other types of cards are going to make it into the auction, but the Golden Elite has so much good stuff. So, okay, Fanatics Collect. PSA 8 on this card is a big deal. PSA 8 on this card is a really big deal. In fact, I want to show you how big of a deal it is. So if we go to GemRate and we click on Universal Search, and then we type in Messi 2004, we're going to get this one right here, the Mega Cracks, number 71. Now, here's what's crazy interesting about this card to me. There's 20 PSA 10s There's 55 nines, 785s. Then you've got 125 eights. But look at this. There's actually more sevens than there are eights. There's more sixes than there are sevens. There's almost as many fives as there are eights. This is what we call a very flat population report. And especially for a card from 2004, I can't think of another card that's close to this distribution. If you think about things on a bell curve, or what a pop report typically looks like, it's going to be different based on year. It's going to be different based on what kind of card type it is, what the average centering was for the product, and all of those types of things, right? But 2004 is only 21 years ago. There are not a lot of distributions ever. There are not a lot of distributions from this era that look anything like this. What is the average grade here? 886 of them have been graded. Let's look at what the median would be, just like from a super high level perspective. So where's the median grade on the Messi? Got 20 10s, so 50. So I'm just going to add in my mind. So 75, about 200, about 330. So a 6. A 6 is a median grade. A 6 from 2004. Find me another card where the median grade from 2004 is a 6. I don't think there is one. It's one of the most interesting things about the Messi. And then look underneath the 6. 5 5s, 111, 4s, 98, 3s, 66, 2s, 25. You get down to authentic, and there's 15 of them. There are 9 1s and 10 1.5s of this card. Right here. An 8 is actually a really big deal. And how many are graded higher than an 8? Just 82 copies. 20 plus 55 plus 7. 82 copies. Less than 10% of those graded have been graded higher than this one. And that's why it's sitting at $24,000. Because it's not, well, that's part of the reason. The biggest reason is it's probably the most iconic soccer card of all time. But the fact that it's an 8 is not a small deal. It's a huge deal on this card. Okay. I don't know what this is. I don't know who this is. I would like to know, and I will look it up later, but I don't want to bore you guys with that right now. 1946 Nanina figurine Technicolor Ferenc Puskas. Probably a soccer player. If I don't know who it is, it's probably a soccer player. Michael Jordan's 06 autograph patch numbered out of 100. Full image on Jordan. The other 3 years before this are vertical, and you don't get a full image of the player. Big Kobe Bryant card right here, the Kaboom from 2019. Not the first, not the second, not the third. 2019 BGS 9.5, 14 grand. Big numbers on that card, guys. The Luka Tiger stripe in a PSA 10. Don't see this one move very often. 14 grand. 4.5 on the Jackie Robinson. So 13.5. Big Steph Curry flawless patch autograph. I made a big mistake this week on my top 4 poll. I accidentally included this Kobe Centurions on that, although it didn't end on Sunday. So I felt kind of dumb about that. But PSA 10 on this card. There's so many things to say about this particular card. The thing that I think is most important is it's really beautiful. In hand, it's just really one of the best looking Kobe refractors ever. But it hardly ever moves because there's only 75 of them. It's from Finest, which is just not as beloved as Chrome for whatever weird reason people have. The fact that it's one of the 6 PSA 10s in existence is a huge deal. Another Messi, getting closer to that median number, is PSA 7. And then we get to one of the biggest cards of the week for sure. The Kobe Black Gold out of 2018 Prizm. I am virtually certain, I shouldn't say that because I'm not virtually certain. I believe, though, that there's only 2 black gold Kobe's that were ever made, 2018 and 2019, and they're both numbered to 5. So I think there's only 10 black gold Kobe's in existence. We've seen one of them move a few times. This might be that same card. It's sort of weird that it's moved a couple times because the golds like almost never move. Not playing days, but it is a Kobe gold, black gold, and that's a big deal. The Kobe from downtown, I remember when this was selling for a lot less, I looked at the population and I was like, gosh, I'd love to buy one of these cards because I think it's going to really matter, but there's so many of them. And it's not like that it's that common. There's, I don't know how many, it's 100 of them or 200 or something like that. But it wasn't, maybe it was even less than that. You can go look it up, but it wasn't rare enough that I was like really interested in it. And now the cards have completely exploded. Sort of feels similar to Kaboom's. Important, not as rare as I'd like, but they're sure selling well. So what do I know? Noise Boys in an 8 is a big deal. Ruth in a 2. I love this Tom Brady. I've always loved it. The score preview. He's got just a fantastic autograph on it. I do not mind him in a Michigan Wolverine uniform because that's what he was known for at this point. And when he signed that, he was not the guy who he ended up becoming. And so we're gonna stop there with the Fanatics preview and move on to. We already looked at this one. Oh, I highlighted that one because that one might be a top 5 for me this week. I got out of it. I might have to come back to it, but we'll see. I'd rather have this Kobe than that one, so leave that there. I wanted to highlight this auction because I didn't even know that Heritage was having an auction, and then as I scrolled through it, I saw a few things that really stood out to me as a basketball collector, like really stood out to me. I'll show you guys. So if you scroll down, way down in the auction, see there's some lots, there's some sets, there's some game use stuff, and then you get to almost there. Look at this. A Century Legends Jordan. This is the parallel number to 100. That's kind of a big card. It's not huge. It's not like worth thousands and thousands of dollars, but that's a pretty big card to be sitting like 2/3 of the way down in this auction. And then I scrolled down a little bit more and I saw something that really surprised me. Check this out, guys. Number 2 out of 100. Now it's altered, which is so weird. I would never have pegged this to be an altered card, but it is. That's what Beckett's got it at least. This is the Sporting News' countdown of the 50 greatest players of all time at this point. Jordan was obviously number 1. The card has holofoil on the right-hand side. It has this sort of unique die cut on the left that sort of made it stand out. They didn't need to do that, though, because the holofoil looks so night and day from the base card. And you'll know it if you see it in person. It's beautiful. For being a serial number to 100 Jordan, it's, to me, and I've said this literally for years, I no longer own the copy that I owned, by the way. I had to trade it away for big Steph Curry card that I bought. I've always said I think this is the card of Michael Jordan that's the lowest number that gets the least amount of love. But the image of Jordan, the fact that it sits in a set with the other 49 greatest players of all time at the time. Actually, interesting, only 48. They didn't put Magic Johnson in the set. And the other really interesting part about this is they put Dominique Wilkins in this set at number 50. And the reason why that's so interesting is that Dominique was not included in the NBA's greatest 50 original poll. If I remember right, it might have been Clyde Drexler who they pulled out to put in Dominique into the set. I could be wrong about that, though. I've digressed. I think this card, even altered, is awesome. I would love to have it in my collection. And I'm really surprised to just see it sort of sitting down in the middle of this Heritage auction that's mostly vintage. Also, this Jordan right here, this Kobe right here, the Silky Smooth, the front and the back are still attached. And a lot of times when you see this graded, they're not attached anymore. I don't know what the whole story is on that one, but that's worth looking into. So a lot of other stuff. It's a big auction. Not big for Heritage, just one of their smaller auctions, but the Icy Bear, a lot of mantles, a lot of big lots and individual cards. And so definitely check that out. Okay. Let's spend just 2 minutes on Card Hobby, and then we'll get to the Golden Elite, and we'll spend the majority of our time on that. So this Chris Paul lot at $20,000 really shocks me. I know it's the whole Letterman, but Chris Paul, $5,000 for a Letterman, it seems high. That has 2 days to go, but that's where it's sitting. The Steph Curry Noir autograph at 27 grand. We need to take a close look at that one, understand why that one's as high as it is. I love this Kobe autograph patch from 2015. That's his final active year. We'll take a quick look at that one up close. I've always loved this LeBron, and I'll explain why in a second. I've always loved this LeBron, and I'll explain why in a second. This Rodman. There's a lot of good stuff up at Card Hobby, guys. A lot of good stuff up at Card Hobby. Okay, let's look at each of these 5 cards before we move on. So this Steph, Noir, Spotlight Signatures, one of the autograph sets of the era. Is it not Spotlight Signatures? Maybe it's not. It just says, oh, is this the, I don't know how you say this. So it looks like the word genre, but then with graphs. And so I've called it in my mind generagraphs, but it's probably genre graphs. The holofoil is really neat. The autograph for Steph has its own place, which you may or may not like. It's numbered out of 10. He's holding the championship trophy, or the MVP. I guess it's not a championship MVP because he never won a finals MVP. It's a unique moment in his career, though I don't know the moment. It is from Noir. Noir is the most underrated brand from the Panini era. It does look like holofoil to me. I think it is. It's a big number for that card, though, at least from my perspective. But I don't know that stuff as well. I want to look at this Kobe because that's one of the coolest patches you're going to see on a card like this. Look how many layers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. I like the patch window. I like that it's from the playing days. Graded a 7 with a 10 auto. It feels great to me. Numbered to 10. Night Moves is an insert that they did a few different times. I don't care so much about Night Moves. That doesn't really stand out to me. Maybe it will at some point, but at this point it doesn't really. The card, though, the card absolutely does. It's a beautiful Kobe card. And I always highlight this LeBron because people for the longest time have feared the autographs on patches would gradually wear away. Well, this card was signed 20 years ago, and it seems to be holding up pretty good, don't you think? That looks just as good as the vast majority, if not way better than the vast majority of LeBron autographs on card. That silver on that dark jersey piece is really lovely. And I wanted to highlight this one because I always say with these couple of years of the enshrinements, 04 and 05, the autograph on holofoil, I don't know how they did it, but it just really, really worked, and it looks really nice. And then finally, I used to own a copy of this card, and it has gone absolutely bonkers. You do know that the autograph on Dennis often hits the bottom, and this one did here. But you've got to love the worm inscription. You'll never know why he inscribed his name on all of the exquisite cards. My belief is that he probably was given these at the same time as another card and like got something mixed up in his mind, and so he just inscribed all of them. That's my belief, but I don't know it for sure. Okay, so with that said, we're done with Card Hobby. And now we'll get to the Elite Auction. The Elite Auction ends not all at the same time. It ends lot by lot, and it ends here coming up on Saturday. And if we scroll down, this is sorted currently by a lot number. We're going to change that. We're going to go from highest price first. And ones that were at the top as far as lot number go are not at the top as far as highest price goes. The triple autograph here was the card that stood out to me immediately when I looked through the auction. Is like, that's probably like the biggest card in the auction. This one's a really well-preserved copy of this card. And we've seen some recently that haven't been well-preserved. There are, if I remember right, 106 total with just autographs with just these 3 players on them. And this specific copy, you can see the autographs are still really blue and present, I think, really well. The autographs here, I believe, have been graded a 10, right? They have. You can see on the bottom, the card's numbered 2 out of 10. Jordan stays in his lane. Kobe stays in his lane. just barely on the top there, and LeBron stays in his lane. So all three autographs do exactly what you'd like them to do. None of them go off the card. It basically presents exactly like you'd like for a card like this to present. This year, and I always forget when I first look at like a trilogy or a UD glass, like how thick the card is. Because sometimes they made these like really clear plasticky cards that were like very thin, and they have autographed ones like this too. In fact, I know Trilogy made some of them that were really thin, but I sort of think that this is like a glass autograph. And what tells me that is look at the corners. Look how rounded the corners are. I think this is like more of a glass card, so I think it's a little bit thicker, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong on this one. I don't think there's anything necessarily on the back that we need to see here, but I do think it's truly, I'm going to say amazing. I think it's unique that all three of these guys held that piece of plastic in their hand and signed it. And I think the fact that they only did that a little over 100 times ever, where it was just those three, where it was unsullied by another player, I understand why that is as sought after as it is. I would love to have one of these. Frankly, most multi-autograph cards, I don't have any interest in. I've sort of gone away from multi-autograph cards in my collection, more so because I think people want to collect the best cards of their favorite players. This is the exception to that. This is the case where having all three together is really unique, and it's understandable why it's as beloved as it is. We're going to put it over here. It's for sure one of my favorite 5 cards of the week. Another dual, this time with LeBron, dual patch auto from Exquisite, really a big card. The Kobe, I want to highlight the Kobe. I'm going to do a reel on the Kobe, I believe tomorrow is when I'm scheduled to do it. So I want to talk through that and why I think that's really interesting. The Mahomes NT 3-color. This one's out of 99. 1/1 Messi from 2015 Select. I really like this LeBron. I did some research and did a previous reel on that, but I want to make sure that you guys understand on that one what makes that one as unique as it is. Speaking of black gold, here's the Ant. Big time Caitlin Clark right here. The gold Kaboom out of 10. Everybody always loves this Derek Jeter with the Statue of Liberty in the background. Ooh, we've got a Caitlin gold Prizm. That's going to be one of the more discussed cards that sells this week. Her market's interesting. There's some Caitlin fatigue. And man, it's interesting because if you were to make a list of maybe the most interesting gold Prizm cards ever made, this card goes on that list. This is the one that people think of as the true rookie. It's just a PSA 9, but that's the Caitlin card. The thing that I don't like about the Caitlin Prizm stuff is at the highest level. I don't like that we're not sure how to think about which one of ones are best. I wish that there wasn't a secondary card to sort of draw confusion. I wish there was just one. But this is her first one. This is the first one in the set, and I like that the gold is not confusing. At the one of ones, there's both the gold vinyl and then there's the black finite. But at the gold Prizm, there's no one has any question. The out of 10 gold Prizm is what it is. And this is that. And that's a big deal. Mahomes out of 99 RPA. Man, Mahomes all over the place. But this one right here is so interesting to me. They put this in green foil. This is a numbered out of the jersey number version. Look at the patch. Really strong for Mahomes. Really strong patch. And then the fact that it's out of the jersey number, to me, immediately makes me think of the years where Exquisite had a jersey numbered parallel that was worth so much money. And so as I look at this, I think about like the LeBron that sold for over $5 million. It sold for over $4 million a couple of times. The thing that's different is that it's like got this green foil and there's more parallels. There's not that many parallels in 2017, though. I think it matters that this one's out of the jersey number, and I personally would want it way, way, way more than these other ones that are out of 99. But look at the prices here. This is an 8.5. This is a 9. But this one's, they're priced at the same price right now. So I might do a post on this where I sort of say, hey, look at LeBron. Look at what his regular to his 23 sells for. Now let's look at Mahomes. What do you think? Do you think that this should have the same correlation or the same sort of multiplier? And I don't think it does, but I don't know why it wouldn't. Is it the green foil? I'm not sure. Do people not look at that the same way? Again, I'm not sure. Kobe Jordan duels are obviously really having a moment. And so that's one thing that a lot of people were looking at. The Jordan Platinum Medallion out of 100 is a big piece. You know what? I'm going to try to go through these pretty fast, actually. I know there's 38 pages. I'm not going to get through 38, but I'm going to go through a couple, and then I'm just going to go through basketball. Big Ohtani, obviously, whenever you get his kanji autograph, that's a big deal. There's a duel with Kobe and LeBron. There's a couple of PMG greens up of common players. Not common, but Marcus Camby's pretty common. 7.5 grade on that. It's a big card. I did a reel on this Michael Jordan Ultra. It's a really big card. There's only a few of these 10s in the world. There's the other green, Joe Dumars. I'd rather have Dumars than Camby. It's interesting that Camby's more expensive right now. Dumars had a vastly superior NBA career, but maybe there's more. Maybe there's just more Camby collectors out there, or maybe it's a set collecting thing. Not sure. Jordan floor autograph. There's one that I haven't seen in a long time, because I don't remember seeing it in a long time. An autograph 10-10 on the Tiger is always interesting. You don't see very many of those. I don't know how many of those there are. Gosh, there's 2 of those, guys. There's 2 of those. That is really interesting. How many PSA 10s are there of that card? Now compare it to that. Gosh, that's interesting. All right, another dual MJ Kobe. I love this set. I think it's really underrated. So we're going to look at that one really close too. And then we're going to do a couple more pages. We'll go to page 4, and then we'll just dive into the basketball stuff. Let's see. Page 3. Messi Mega Cracks from 2004. PSA 10. I just heard my son come back from mowing the lawn. That's a good sign. It's a day off here where they go to school. $18,000 on this ticket, on this Wilt ticket. I love the Wilt ticket. I love this. Okay, so this is a card that we have to talk about. And I happen to think that card's sitting very low right now compared to where I anticipated that it would sell. You let me know whether I'm crazy. Wow, this Ray Allen's super high though. Why? Oh, it's PSA 9. 47 of 50, one of the last 5. Let's talk about that. Don't know if I've shared that story here on this show yet. Certainly shared it in other places, but you guys might find that interesting. Oh, we've got to look at this Jordan Authentic altered card. We've got to look at that to talk about why something with that may be very interesting. And then let's go to page 4. If it'll let me. Maybe it doesn't want me to go to page 4. Come on, guys. Well, let's go to page 4. Gotta love that Kobe right there. That is just a beautiful piece. Okay, so it does not want me to go to page 4. I do not know why that's happening. But I wonder if I click on basketball. Oh, no, it's going to page. Well, now it's going here. Wow, that's a beautiful card, isn't it? I've said it before. I'll say it again. The immaculate jumbo patch autographs are some of the nicest looking cards I've ever seen. That sweep. That's what when I see that sort of see the gold holofoil that really like goes around the window. I call this sweeping holofoil. I might have invented that term. I just love how it sweeps across the whole card, sort of like directing the player where to sign. It's beautiful in hand. It sort of is a dividing factor in the design that also really like lights up the card. I'm going to try to click back here. I don't know if that's going to work. And then I'm going to just click basketball. And I think we're going to be sorted from highest first. Yeah. And we've already looked at all of this stuff. Let's go to page 2. Okay, cool. So there's a lot more stuff here that I want to see. And we're going to spend another 10 minutes on this, and then we'll get you guys out of here. So I've got this one. We're going to highlight that one in just a sec. Yeah, I need to look at the individual cards, so I'm not going to spend a whole 10 minutes here. But, ooh, big Reggie Miller, PMG, PSA 4 from 1998. I love this Kobe. I think this is one of the sleepers of the auction. Ooh, I love this one. I haven't seen one of these in a while. The 09 Jumbo. Yeah, we're going to look at that one too. Sometimes you have to get through the highest dollar stuff in the auction to get to some of the coolest stuff. This Wilt we're going to talk about. We haven't seen a Wilt sell for a little while. An incredible or a Legends epic signature. We haven't. We're going to page 3. Why is it doing that? I did not click on that. I'm not sure why it did that. I'm trying to go to page 3. We'll try that. There we go. 02 Finite, numbered 5 out of 23. Very unique Jordan Wizards era uniform. What would you rather have, this or the far more plentiful card where he's in a Bulls uniform? It's really interesting. I think that you could say, you can't go wrong there. But I would rather have the rarer card. 2014 Flawless Finishes. So I think the first time they did this set. Hall of Foil, great image of Kobe, numbered out of 20. Blue Luka out of 199. That's obviously a big card. I love this Jordan because it pays homage to a set that most people don't know exists. 99 Primetime Rookies autograph set number 25. I owned 2 of those in my youth. I bought one out of a showcase of Rip Hamilton for $25. My friend Gail Emery in Salt Lake City was listing that card. He had it listed for $25 in the House of Cards shop. I bought it, went home, put it on eBay, and sold it for $140. That was 20 plus years ago. And I also owned a Jason Terry from this set that I got out of a big Jason Terry collection. This is one of the rarest sets from the 90s. This is the remake of that, to be clear. But it's Jordan, so it's worth way more than any of the originals are. Any of the originals on that set, though, you just don't ever see them. I mean, you never see them. They're not worth very much, but when they pop up, they always sell pretty well. Even like the commons sell pretty well. I just think stuff like that's so underrated. Ooh, an 03 set, an 03 Jambalaya set. That's very cool. Okay, we're going to click on that one too. Then we're going to do at least page 4 of the basketball. We might even do one more. I'm going to bring up my friend MK Sports Cards for the 4th time this week, or third time this week. Oh, this LeBron's super interesting. What is behind the NBA logo here? What is that? Man, that's so interesting. We might need to look at that one a little bit closer and see if we can figure anything out there. Oh, this Jordan is what I wanted. What I mentioned MK for. I love that piece so much. All right, we'll come to page 5. See if there's anything else that really stands out to us here. Kobe laundry tag logo man. There's 2 different styles of these. This one's out of 2 from National Treasures. It's kind of a cool piece, though. You get to see all of Kobe. Logo man of Jaylen Brown. Man, I'll tell you what, somebody's moving this set. That's what's happening. Because there are 3 huge extra exquisite cards that are up right now. It's so interesting. Okay, we're gonna do one more page. One more page, and we've got so many things for Golden that I've got highlighted at this point. Maybe we skip one more page because it's not going there. Yeah, it's not going there. Oh, it's going there finally. Maybe. For some reason it's sent me to the Caitlin Clark. I don't know why. Okay, so let's look at each of these. So, okay, this will be again, this is a card that I'm going to do a reel on. I think there's a few things here that are interesting to think about. One is, how much does that 8 of 8 matter? To some people, this matters so much that it will cause the card to sell for multiples of what it would sell for otherwise. To some people, it matters that it's from the same year as LeBron's rookie year, and so it's just a super recognizable set. And then to other people, it's going to matter that this is actually the variation just down from the Logoman autograph. See, the first ever ultimate Logoman autograph cards, other than the few that were made just the year before it, from regular Upper Deck. But the first ones from Ultimate came from this series, 03 Ultimate Collection. And they're 1-of-1s. The Kobe from this set sold last year for $1.5 million. And I think in retrospect, given what's happened over the course of the last couple months, it's fair to say that probably was less than it could have been. Probably. Again, big billboard here. I own a Kobe Logoman autograph, so I'm totally biased. With that said, that card, that Logoman autograph from Ultimate, I think from 03 Ultimate, is viewed by a lot of people as the best solo Kobe Bryant Logoman autograph in existence. There's a really interesting question there of whether it's better than the one that I own or the other ones from that first year. I would tell you that I prefer the one from my year, not just because I own it, but because I collect firsts, and I think firsts matter. That I don't think is the case in terms of price, though, because I don't think mine was ever going to sell for $1.5 million like that one did last year. At that point, I don't think that would have been a price that you could have even you would have laughed at if you would have said it. And so why? Why is 03's Logoman auto set so much better than the other set? And how does that even apply to this? Well, 03's set is the first time where you get this more modern looking holofoil, very blank canvas look that we've sort of come to really know and love. And it is significant in that it's a bigger set. It's 30 different players. And that, I think, is the reason why it's so beloved. Well, there's that card. And then there's the normal autograph. That card, by the way, looks just like this one, except for there's a Logoman over here. It's the same pose of Kobe. It's the same number on the card. There's an autograph spot that's the same, but there's a Logoman. Then there's the regular autograph version of the card that's beautiful with more of a blank canvas and looks very similar to this, except for it doesn't have a serial number. It has a little bit different colors around the card. Then in the middle of those two cards, there sits this card, numbered 8 of 8. And the question, of course, is why does it even matter that it's numbered 8 out of 8? Why does that add so much to it? Well, people love when a player's jersey number is the number that it's out of, and they love when it's that very last one that sort of represents this is the 8, the number 8 copy. And Kobe at this point was not 24. He was number 8. He was number 8 for a couple more years after this. So other than the Logoman Auto, which is a multi-million-dollar card, this is the best variation of this type of Kobe Bryant card. How much does all that matter? I'm not sure. To this point, it matters, $109,800. That's what the bid on it is. And that's the story. That's why I think it's an interesting piece. So with that said, there is, if I can find it, there is another Ultimate Collection gold autograph that's up that's actually older, right? It's 2 years older. And unless I'm mistaken, and I don't think I am, this is the first year of the jersey numbered autographs from Ultimate Collection. This is the second year of Ultimate Collection. 2000 is the first year, and it's a beloved product, at least by me and a few other people. I absolutely love it. But they didn't do a jersey numbered autograph in that first year. Kobe or Jordan might have one to 23. I don't think he does. I think they're all to 25. But Kobe doesn't have an autograph to 8 that year. He has an autograph patch to 8 that year, which is a card that I've been after forever. But the 01 Ultimate autograph or Ultimate Signature set, this is the first time that they did full gold And you can look down here and you can see numbered 5 out of 8. This card is serial numbered just like this one is, except for this one's stamped, not hand numbered. And I think in general, this design is not as interesting to people as this design. With that said, how much more should this one be worth, being that it's the 8 of 8 copy, than this one? Or if this one was the 8 of 8 copy, how would that compare to this one if this one was not? It's really interesting to think about. I'm going to put this one as maybe my favorite, top 5 of the week. I actually love this card and probably be more interested in bidding on this one because it's more in my possible price range. Okay, this LeBron. Oh man, I'm so short on time, but I have some hard decisions to make because when I do these shows, I do it on StreamYard, and you cannot upload a StreamYard file that's longer than 2 hours. And because I am so long-winded, I have gone to where I only have 15 minutes left. So I have to go quick here, but I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to go through the rest of these in a way that hopefully works for you guys. I do want to point out on this card, from a historical perspective, there's something that is largely not understood in the market that I think needs to be understood. And that is that for the Upper Deck era, Upper Deck made a very clear decision. The first thing, well, in 2002, they made their first Logoman cards. They made 9 Logoman autograph cards, and they put them out in the very basic Upper Deck. And I don't know if it was a huge hit. I don't know if people liked. I don't know anything. What I do know is that after that, they said, let's create a strategy around how we're going to use Logoman. They didn't really have a strategy in 2002 other than just to put it in regular Upper Deck. But then in 2003, they created a strategy, and this is that strategy. They had dual Logoman autographs in Exquisite, and then later triple Logoman cards in Exquisite. In Ultimate Collection, they had Logoman autographs, single Logoman autographs. And then for the cards where they just wanted to do just a Logoman, they did those in SP Game Used. People don't think about SP Game Used because they're not autographed and they're not one of those two like best of the best type cards. Obviously, you'd rather have LeBron's autograph on this card than not on this card. But just to be clear, my big head's in the way of the 72,000. Just to be clear, if this card was autographed, this is $1 million plus card at this point. So, everybody wants the autograph on the Logoman card. Not everybody's going to pay millions of dollars. So if you want a LeBron Logoman card, in particular from this era, this is what you get. Now, right before Upper Deck lost their license, they needed to get their other game used materials out there because that was their last chance that they were going to be able to use them. So the final year of SP Game Used, which is actually, I think, ironically my favorite of all of the years, they made this Logo Man or Logo Men set that have like some of the Logo Men cards are numbered to like 15 and 10. I think LeBron's numbered to 6 or 7. I think Kobe's numbered to 7 or 8. Tim Duncan's numbered to 7. So some of the bigger names are like, they're not crazy high numbers, but they give you like the best chance to get them. And they ideally, historically, have presented sort of a more affordable way to get a Logoman card from the era. They don't have holofoil though. This one is a 1 of 1, has the unbelievable holofoil, and again is like that's the set that you were going to get a Logoman card from. There's one from an earlier year that sold for a bigger number. It has a great story about how it was pulled and sold years later. This is just a fantastic looking card though, and yeah, I think that history there is really important. I wanted to mention this one because I've always thought that this set is so underappreciated. The fact that they both held this card, they both signed on the same little sheet of plastic thing here, which is all part of the card, by the way. They held the card, not just a piece of plastic. That Jordan and Kobe just missed each other's autographs by less than a centimeter. I love this card. It's number 15. It's got everything going for it. Okay, this triple right here, we're on a Jordan Kobe kick, but this one's more than just a Jordan Kobe kick. This is actually from the very first year where they signed together. There are only 5 cards that were made this year. Only 5 were both signed. 2 of them included a third player, and I think I can't remember if they both are Garnett or if one's Garnett and one's somebody else. It's out of 25. It's one of the most common of the autographs where these guys both signed. But really, like, make no mistake here, this is a huge piece. There was at the Fanatics Collect premiere, there was a duel of the two from the same year, numbered to 8, but it was a buyback, and buybacks are sort of they're sort of frowned upon in some circles. Some people don't want buybacks. This is not a buyback. This is a card that was made 24 years ago to include those three guys. And also, make no mistake, these were the three players for this era. These were the three guys. Garnett was there with these other two guys. And you can see that in several of the sets that they made in that early 2000s era. Ray Allen, number 47 of 50. I'd love to tell the story, but bottom line on this is only one of those final 5 sets has not been broken up. We know that because we've seen single copies from I should remember this. I think is it 46 or 48 that hasn't been found. One of the sets may be together somewhere because we've never seen a single copy sell from the set. If that set is out there and if it was to come to market, it's several $1 million at this point. I just hope that it will, that somebody will find it, machine wrapped, because again, the last 5 sets, 46 through 50, were not inserted into packs, but were inserted via redemption, the ultimate Gem Masters redemption, where you pull that redemption card, you send it in, and Fleer sent back a complete set of PMGs that was worth thousands of dollars at the time, and today is worth millions. The story on this card is really simple, and that is that there was another copy of this card that went up for auction. This one looks pretty nice, guys. That was in an altered case, an altered Beckett case, just like this one. And then the guy who bought it cracked it out and sent it to PSA, and it hit it PSA 7, and then that card's a $100,000 card right off. So he bought a card for a few grand and cracked it, and it became $100,000 overnight. I can't say that that's what's going to happen here, but I will tell you what, if I'm somebody with really good eyes, I'm looking at this really closely, because if Beckett's saying, hey, we think this is altered based on its size, and PSA has maybe a little bit of a different standard, could this end up in a PSA 7 holder? Maybe. It's happened before. That's my point. So that's something to look for. We saw cards from this set over and over throughout this auction, and I don't think that's a mistake. I think somebody's clearly selling the set. It's the best patch-only set in Exquisite's history by a mile, in my opinion. There are other sets where you get multiple patches, but this is a jumbo patch on an iconic-looking image from the final year of Exquisite. I think they made this. There's no patch variation of this card in 03. There's only jersey versions of this card. I think they made this set because they knew they were losing the license. And if you look at that one, and then you look at, where is it? I wanted to look at this LeBron. I want to know where that patch is from on the LeBron. Guys, if anybody knows what this patch is, will you message me? Because I would love to know. I might want to do a reel on that card. Because I just think that that's really neat. It's sort of weird that the NBA guy is in front of it, but it's also obviously very cool. And then the Wilt. I love the Wilt. I own an epic signature of Wilt from Legends. My voice is going a little bit. And I was looking the other day at historic sales of the card. We were not seeing a lot of Wilt Chamberlain autographs change hands. There were, I believe, 550 total made of all pack-inserted Wilt Chamberlain autographs ever. Beckett reported that at some point. I could probably figure that out. Although I've tried a couple times and haven't been able to find the original source. I might have the Beckett now. He passed away right around the same time. That's something that they're pointing out. The autograph looks pretty well preserved to me, too. Okay, this 03 set, I want to just check this to see what the LeBron's grade is. The LeBron's grade is an 8. You also get Kobe and all the other guys in this set. That's one to watch. Sets like this often provide an opportunity to flip and make some cash. I already mentioned this LeBron. I'm going to put it up here as maybe one of my cards of the week. This Jordan, again, one of my favorites, one of my friend MK Sports Cards favorite cards too. It's the only Playing Days autograph patch card from Michael Jordan that was made during his career, other than in the same product they had a couple of duels, one with Kobe and one with Magic. Besides that, this is it. This is the only game-used patch autographed from Michael Jordan's Playing Days. He has other jersey autographs. He has cards that were made between the time that he came back to the Wizards, but never while he was playing, except for that one. So that's really cool. Already talked about that one, and that is it for the week. So that leaves us with, let's see, that leaves us with, we're going to get out of, actually, let's leave the Wilt as maybe an option. Leave the Jordan maybe as an option. This Jordan went along with the Kobe and the LeBron all up in the same week. So that leaves us with how many cards that are potential favorites this week. You know what card I kind of like that's not in here is that Caitlin Clark Gold. I've done so much Caitlin on the thumbnail, though I'm not going to do that. I really like this triple, although it won't look the same as like on the thumbnail. I really like it. That's going to be one of my 5 favorites. So is that LeBron. So is this Kobe. Really like that card. And the Wilt. Let's try to divide it up a little bit. Let's get that one. Let's get, we already have another triple autograph. We certainly don't need 2. So let's do this. Number 5 card of the week is going to be this Kobe. Again, I hope Alt will show this one off in hand, because I think that will make you think differently about the card. But remember, that's on card, and it's beautiful. Number 4, I'm going to go with this patch. I need to find out where it's from. If anybody finds any information, please include that in the comments. The Wilt, I love so much. Again, I love it so much. I have a Wilt autograph in my collection that I've had several temptations to sell, but I haven't done. And then the number 1 card of the week, number 2 card of the week for me is going to be this duel. 8 of 8 is so cool, but the 3 of these guys on 1 card to me makes this the card of the week. We finished with 3 minutes to spare. Guys, thank you for subscribing. Look, I've got a fancy button. Who wants to see the fancy button? Let's see. You know what? Forget it. You don't want to see that. Thank you guys for watching, subscribing, all those things. It's great to see your comments and to have been able to talk to so many of you recently. Again, I know that a lot of people want to focus on like how hot the market is, and I get that. I just don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that. I'd rather talk about the cards. So that may not be the most interesting thing to a lot of people, but that's what the show's about. So thank you for watching, and until next time, until next week, happy collecting.